All right, folks. Wanted to do another part to that the dream of consciousness video that I put out because there was an aspect that I forgot, and I want to talk about basically. I want to kind of summarize it first. So what I want to, because I just shot this and then I realized the point once I got to the end, like how to really say it. But and there, oh, also there might be some noise upstairs. I'm in the basement. Might be some noise upstairs. So I apologize for that in advance if you guys hear anything. But what I'm trying to say, the point of this video, what I want to show is that within consciousness there is a play, like a drama. It's what in or let me say within a dream, there's like a drama. There's a symbolic play going on. There's different figures that represent different things, and your interaction with those things. What I'm trying to say can have a result in your waking life. And then what I want to say is that waking life is the dream of the one mind or God, the one consciousness, the consciousness that was in the beginning, that was with God and was God, and then came to earth in flesh. That one consciousness embodies every human being that is on earth in our waking life. They are all just like within your dream, you can have a world with 7 billion people. They're all you, though. Every single last one of them is individuated fractions of your consciousness or appear to be fractions of your consciousness separation, but they're all one mind, yours. They're all one consciousness, yours. And then you wake up from your dream into God's dream, what we call reality, until we leave this body and realize that it's not reality, that we can pass through these quote unquote solid objects, just like science said, because these objects are not solid at all, but we just don't realize that while we're at their same density. But when we change vibrations, it's a totally different story. And people can interact with things differently. They can make things manifest right before them, when they're in that realm. It's a different thing. So, and what I'm trying to show is the same way you can interact with beings in your consciousness. They have a impact on your physical life. You can interact with beings in your physical life and it can change the world because it's still that one mind. Now let me give you an example. The reason that I have this picture up is because this is the only one that I could find of a monster chasing the person. It's crazy. It's like all these movies and this is the best thing I could do. But it seems to be working. So the reason that I brought this up is because a common example of people who have become awake in their dreams. All right, those who are asleep, just like death. That's the what is it? That is the metaphor that is used a lot in the Bible of those who are asleep. Those who are walking, they're awake. I mean, they're alive, but they're dead because they don't know what they actually are. They haven't woken up to the fact that they haven't woken up to that fact. They're like sleepwalking. It's the exact same thing. More people, the people that are usually accusing somebody of sleepwalking are usually sleepwalking themselves, and I mean that in most religions. Because they don't actually look at themselves in the correct way either. But let me get back to what I was saying. So when we talk about sleep, these people have trained themselves to wake up within the dream, just like what you see in Inception. A little less, but kind of like what you see in Inception. They've trained themselves to become aware or conscious in quote unquote unconsciousness. So they're able to interact with their dream in a way that most people have no idea can even exist. They're able to pull up specific aspects of themselves and interact with those aspects of themselves. They can get wisdom, teaching, foresight, prophecy, all these different types of things because that realm of themselves is the kingdom. That's what Jesus was referring to. That's the kingdom of God. Everything is there. They've gone there and healed themselves. The one lady had plantar warts on her toes, and when she became conscious in her dream, she made two orbs of light and she set them on her feet. When she woke up the next morning, those plantar warts had turned black and then they fell off. It's real. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a drama that occurs there. Like there, you create two balls of light and you put them on your feet, on your dream body. And then when you wake up in real life, or what we call real life, you're healed. Or in this case, where a lot of people who have their first lucid dreams are from nightmares because it's a recurring nightmare. So they recognize this monster chasing them and they say, wait, this is a dream. And they usually turn around and beat the shit out the monster. Now that works too, because that's what I do. In a lot of the dreams that I've had where demons or aliens or whatever it was trying to attack me, I just beat the shit out of them, and I won every time. Of course I did, right? It's me. It's my dream. And but what they tell people to do after that, what they tell them once people start to get into lucid dreaming, or people who have post traumatic stress disorder, they teach them this too, to wake up in their dreams because they have these recurring nightmares. So what they tell them to do is turn around and face this dream monster. And three things normally, well, four things actually that I've heard so far normally happen. The one thing that happens the most often is they turn around, and this is what they tell them to do: um, project unconditional love towards this monster. So they turn around, and the one guy who's like, it's this big bat-looking figure, like most demons we imagine would look, this big gnarly looking thing with bat wings or whatever. And he says he turns around and he just grabbed it and he hugged it and he just squeezed it, and it was trying to like get out of his hold and break free, and he was like, it was had all this like foul breath and all that kind of stuff. And he says then it started to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink until it was smaller and it wasn't squirming anymore. And he let go and he looked at it and it was him. And he says like it gave him like this look, like a little twinkle, and then disappeared. And he said right after that he woke up, and he said he woke up in tears, and he felt like there was a knot that was in his stomach that had been there for years that was untied. He felt totally free. And many people that I've heard, who turn around and face that nightmare monster experience the exact same thing, the exact same story with different people, different monsters for different reasons, but the same outcome. The other thing that happens is well, let me well, I think that's a good enough example, but there is three other things that usually happen too. But the reason that I want to use that example and the others follow along with it is because what these people realize is that the thing that's been chasing them the entire time, the thing that they were afraid of, that they were running from, was an aspect of their own consciousness. It was an aspect of them that they had rejected. And that's why it's chasing them. It's because it's something they deem evil. It's something that they battle with in quote unquote waking life. It's something that they have rejected or seen as sinful and wicked and demonic, something that is not acceptable to them. So it's a portion of themselves that they've rejected, just like there's a portion of society that we have rejected. So in them, this monster is chasing them because in waking life, this monster is chasing them. And in both situations, it's them. The only difference is when the person turns around and embraces this monster, they've embraced themselves. Because a kingdom divided can't stand. So the feeling that they feel, the reason they wake up in tears and they feel like this knot in their stomach has been untied, is because they've learned unconditional love for even their darkest, unforgivable parts. And when they wake up, they become a different person because of it. It's amazing. And all through this drama, this play of two fake figures, because that's not you in the dream, and the monster isn't a monster in the dream. It's all one mind putting on a play so that you can get the moral of the story. It's very beautiful. All right, so let's take that and transition that into waking life. So in the dream, you can have 7 billion people on the planet. They're all you. That with the illusion of separation, but it's all consciousness, all one mind. And not only are the people you, but the grass is you, the concrete is you, the buildings are you. They're all made from consciousness with the illusion of density. That's why even in your dreams you don't fall through the floor. Why is that? How come in your dreams you have to open a door to enter a building? It's because of the limitations you put on yourself. And isn't it ironic that they've discovered that matter isn't solid? But what keeps us from being able to go through the wall? What keeps us staying on the floor? Because neither one of us is solid, the floor or the body that we're in. Neither one of them is solid. They've discovered that atoms aren't particles, they're waves of potential. It's amazing. They're not particle, meaning that they're not some solid thing. They're waves of potential, meaning that they could be anything depending on perception. It's amazing. It's very amazing. Very amazing stuff. So what I'm trying to say is you could take that dream of the 7 billion people that are all your consciousness, and when you wake up, you can with most people when they wake up from this waking life, which is normally at death, they realize that there is only one. Some people who have lucid dreamed or done transcendental meditation, or other people have experienced this like in playing music when they just get really, really in tune with the music and they zone out, they leave their body and they can see themselves below playing perfectly. Or what's other person who has experienced this for some reason? I can't remember what the lady said, how she got there, but they get into this realm of non-duality where there is no I. It's like they can't even explain it when they come back because we don't have like the understanding of that, but there is no I. There when they're there, there is no separation. Everything is one and they can clearly see it. They can clearly understand it. There is no division between them and that. There's only existence. There's only one. Like they realize that. And that is not the dream. That is them like dying or being in this realm and going there. You know what I mean? They realize that it's only one. So just like those, I say it again, just like those 7 billion people in the dream have the illusion of separation, but they're all one consciousness, one mind. This is what the spirits, people who die and come back, like not die and then their spirit comes back, but die and come back to life. This is what they see when they're in the spirit. They know that we're all one. They know it. They experience the unconditional love when they're doing their life review and through all the bad shit that they've done, this being that is with them is pouring out nothing but unconditional love. Zero judgment. Zero. Zero judgment, which is why they don't want to come back here because it's not a realm like that. And the reason is because of how we see ourselves. That's what I meant earlier when we have that demonic portion of ourselves chasing us because that's the us that we've rejected. We've rejected God. We've rejected God in the sense that we have people in society that we see as demonic, that are rejects, people that we push out of the buildings. You know, we don't want them here because they're not living the way that we think good should be. You know, like the prostitutes, the pimps, the drug dealers, the murderers, the bankers. For some people, you know, the Illuminati or the rappers and all this type of stuff, they're like the demonic version of us. They're the us because it's one mind with the appearance of separation. They're the evil that we continue to fight. And as long as we continue to fight it, it's the exact same thing as running from it. It'll just continue to come back over and over and over again so that until that one day that we wake up and we turn around and we embrace it with unconditional love. Then it'll disappear. That's what Jesus was saying when he said, "Don't judge lest ye be judged." But he's not saying that if you judge somebody, then somebody's going to judge you. He's saying that when you judge somebody, you're also simultaneously judging yourself. And whatever you see as not fit, that portion goes into you as not fit. Whatever you judge somebody else, you simultaneously judge yourself. That's why he's saying don't judge, because whatever you judge has to be measured back to you. Whatever you don't accept in your reality is unacceptable in yourself, in your kingdom. That's the beauty of unconditional love and forgiveness, because you don't have to reject yourself at all. You love yourself the same way you would love God, and then you love your neighbors the same way you love yourself, the way you love God, because it's all one and the same. That's what he's saying. And that's why don't try to condemn your neighbor for their little mote in their eye when you have a plank in yours. And the plank is causing you to see them. It's causing you to see the mote. It's causing you to see a problem. It's causing you to see a need for judgment. But if you remove that, then you would clearly see how to remove their little speck of problem. Because the big problem in you is now gone. And because you can clearly see, you don't look at their issue the same way. You don't look at their issue as, man, that's wrong. You need to stop doing that. Not because you're seeing them in unconditional love. it's amazing. It's like instead of changing them, You love them for who they are 100% of the time, no matter what they do. And that what you'll see that that changes people, because the only reason it's like in all cases, the only reason people ever do anything that's really like, and I've learned this working in juvenile detention. The only time somebody acts out and they do something that you don't like is when they're afraid. They don't know what to do. They're in chaos. But if you have them in order and discipline, and that discipline being love, then they respect it and they feel safe. It's the exact same thing. When people get what do they do when they get defensive? You know what I mean? It's the exact same thing. You see that being is your issue. And once you learn how to solve that issue, you look at yourself differently. In most cases, what people do is they lock that issue away in a deep part of themselves and try to deny it. So they'll always see through that issue and they project that on the other people, and that is their problem. It's like no one else's job to be perfect for you. It is only your job to be perfect for you. Everyone else can be flawed, but they don't need to change so that you feel better. You need to see them in a different way. That's why Jesus could be on the cross and look at the people who quote unquote condemned him to death and say forgive them. They don't even know what they're doing. And because I see that, I can love them. Because I know that they're not trying to hurt me on purpose. If they knew what they were doing, they wouldn't be doing this. Or technically, if they knew what they were doing, they would do this, but they'd be a little happier about it. Right? I'm sacrificing my life for them. They know that, and it'd be different. So it's like that's why God sees the heart of man and not the surface, where everyone else sees the surface and not the heart. Because when he looks at us, he can only see himself, because this flesh is a temporary illusion. All he sees is his children, or it sees. It's so what I'm trying to say there is that in consciousness, in your dream, those plays, they are psychological. They're like, well, not even really psychological, because I think, well, no, psyche is the soul actually. So yeah, they're like psychological. So they're it's a psychological drama or play, or kind of like what I wanted to refer to about the myths, how they in the mystery schools in like Egypt they would teach through the symbols of their gods. So Isis, Horus, Osiris, they were symbols of something. Their stories represented the progression of man's consciousness. They were all symbols of something. They represented something. But they were like a play, a dramatic play. And they would teach these dramatic plays in the mystery schools. And they would have people do dramas and things like that, because that's how we learn. That's how subconscious, that's how our spirit speaks to us, through those dramas and plays. So when we fall asleep, the consciousness puts on, it creates a world for us to interact so that we can learn. And those lessons transition into this waking life. And the lessons in this waking life transition into the next waking life when you wake up from this dream. Now, to really wake up from this dream in this waking life would be to realize that you are in someone's dream. That's self realization. That's self realization, is to wake up to realize that, oh, there is something after this that is not like this life. Just like when I keep saying it over and over again, but when you leave this life, that you won't be able to interact with your parents or your mom, I mean your siblings or your friends. You won't be able to interact with them the same way. You'll be in a different realm. You'll be able to communicate with them, but in most cases they won't be able to feel it because they don't know what they are. So in most cases you'll be able to speak with them through dream, where that realm is a lot is a lot different. You know what I mean? It's amazing, and all the memories that you'll have from this life will be as memories of a dream. There'll be a beginning and an ending of it. There'll be the portion before you went to sleep, and then the portion when you woke up. We call it death. And you'll be able to look over your life just like a dream. And all the experiences that you've gathered from that dream, the lessons from the morals that you've experienced, will be with your spirit. It's amazing. It's like when you see it clearly, it becomes so easy to love people. And I struggle with this. This is something that I have to continually remind myself. But once it's like the more and more, like I said in that last video, the more and more I'm aware of these quote unquote coincidences and uh what is another word for it? Synchronicities. You know, the more and more I become aware of that stuff, the easier it becomes. It's like this, the more it's reinforced that this is just a dream. And I'm thankful for that understanding. I don't know if people really believe what I'm saying, and I I can't make people believe it. I can't get them to believe it. That's okay. I mean, it's gonna have to be okay. But I wish that people did, because like, we should not be considering ourselves humans or bodies with a spirit or a soul. We should be considering ourselves spirits with a body. Once you change the way that you see yourselves in that aspect, it changes everything. And I'll close with this last thing where Jesus came to Nicodemus and he talks to him about being born again. All right, he says you have to be born again, and Nicodemus is, basically says how, and he says that you can't see the kingdom if you're not born again, and he says you can't enter the kingdom if you're not born again. And what we think seeing the kingdom and entering the kingdom is like afterlife. You can't go to heaven if you're not born again. That's not what he's saying at all, because heaven is within you. You go to heaven every day. You're in heaven. That's why he says the Son of Man, who he says no one has gone up to heaven, or no one who has seen heaven except he who has come from heaven or ascended up to heaven. No one has ascended up to heaven but he who has come from heaven. And what he means there is that he who is born again, because born again means to be born from above. You can't enter into heaven, which is what he's referring to when he says ascend to heaven. You can't ascend unless you came from there. And most people don't realize that they came from there. That's what he's saying about the wind. He says that the wind goes where it wants, and you don't know where it comes from, but you hear it sound, and you don't know where it's going. He says that is they who are born of the Spirit. That those who are born of the Spirit are those who are born again. He says spirit gives birth to spirit, not flesh. He says flesh gives birth to flesh, spirit gives birth to spirit. And he compares that with water and spirit. The water is the flesh, the spirit is the spirit. The water is the birth that you, when you come out of your mother's water, when you come out that womb, that's birth. That's where they get that word from, birth. It's a shipping term. So he's saying that those who come out the water and believe that they are flesh, that they consider themselves to just be the flesh. But he's saying that those who are born again realize that they are a spirit, not a body. They were somewhere before they incarnated, and the incarnation is the sound that he's talking about wind makes. You can't see the wind, only the sound. Well, you can't see the spirit, only the flesh that it inhabits. He's saying that we don't know where that wind came from, meaning that the spirit was somewhere before it incarnated. Not it wasn't created when we incarnated. He's saying that it's something that existed before incarnation. Yeah, that's why you don't know where it came from, because as long as you are a Nicodemus type of spiritual person, you think that you are flesh. You think that your spirit was created here. But he's trying to tell us clearly spirit gives birth to spirit. So who is the spirit? Who is the capital spirit in that parable? Or in that story, parable, same thing. Who is the capital spirit? The one spirit. That spirit gave birth to all spirits. So it's not uh that spirit gave birth to all spirits. And that's why born again means to be born from the beginning. Also, it means to be born from above and born from the beginning, meaning that you always existed. You always existed. You existed before incarnation, or what Jesus refers to as the sound wind makes. You existed before that, and that's what he's saying. You don't know where you're going after this. You're going back to the same place you were before. You were in the beginning with God. In the beginning was the Word. That word really represents the logic of God. It's his mind. You were in the beginning with him, and you were him. And then you inhabited flesh. Then the word became flesh. It's not talking about one person. Just like Adam wasn't talking about one person. The second Adam is the second mankind. Those who are born again. Those who wake up from the dream and realize what they truly are. The wind. the spirit. We're not our parents didn't give birth to the spirit portion of us. They created the body that our spirit comes to inhabit. They didn't give birth to the spirit portion of us. Only one thing did. The spirit gave birth to our spirit. It's amazing. And you start to see yourself that way, everything changes. It has to. And the beautiful part about this is, just like I was saying, how we reject certain aspects of society, we reject the Illuminati, we reject the prostitute or the drug dealer or the pimp or the child molester. We reject them, though they are us, one mind, all God. We reject that, and it causes our kingdom to be divided. It's one person, one mind, and God is divided because of us. But there will come a time when we'll all see ourselves totally different. The way that we relate to ourselves in time and space will be totally different. The way that we relate to death, totally different. Birth, totally different. And at that time, the beliefs, the fears, the hatreds that we have will be foolishness, utter foolishness. And it's just an evolution of consciousness. Is This is the way it must be. This drama must play itself out this way, just like in a dream. It must play itself out this way. And we'll see people waking up. Like it'll happen, and once they do, that's when everything collapses. The crazy thing about it is we think that the wake up makes it better. It won't. It won't. The wake up will be like, wait, if everything is a lie, then we have to restructure every aspect of society, and that will bring a collapse to the current structure. And that collapse will be massive. It'll be great because it's existed for centuries, if not millennia. So when that happens, the shit will really hit the fan and everybody's going to be in chaos. But chaos is how order is created. You take a puzzle, you dump it out, all these pieces all over the board, and slowly but surely you put it together to make one picture. That's how chaos goes into order. That's and it's there. It's and the crazy thing is, it started off in order, and then somebody cut it up and jumbled the pieces together. It's the exact same thing. It goes from chaos to order to chaos to order. The earth was dark and without form and void. That means chaos. That word means chaos. Then God said, "Let there be light." That word light actually means order. It's the exact same process. It happens over and over and over again. It's just a progression of evolution of consciousness. Can't be avoided. Uh, and when we pass, for example, I said I was going to end it before, but let me give you one more example of a lady who she went through a past life regression. And in the past life that she ended up at, she was in the Holocaust. She was in a concentration camp, and she was going somewhere. She thought to take a shower, and she says, "We know something is wrong, because basically, but we know something is wrong, but we want showers anyway." So they took us to take a shower. We get into this room and it's gas, and then she starts to like cough and gag because she's hypnotized. She's back there consciously, just like it's just like in a dream that you're in that realm of consciousness. It's crazy when you go into that dream realm. Time is totally different. Time and space flip flop. Like here, it'll take you an hour to, like, if you're going at 60 miles an hour, it'll take you an hour to go 60 miles. Well, there, time is like distance. It's just it flip flops. It's different. And in that conscious realm. Now, let me say this too. So different levels of consciousness allow you to interact with matter or consciousness in a different way. Just like there's different people don't might not know this, but consciousness is the spirit, and consciousness vibrates at different levels. We call them brain waves. So you have the alpha, the beta, the theta, and the data, or the delta waves. I mean, so and we transition through those throughout the day. I think alpha, especially when we're watching TV, around 15 minutes is when they bring on commercials because that's when we're in the alpha state, when we're a little more susceptible to suggestion and advertising. And sleep, we go through, I believe we might start in alpha, then go to beta. But I know theta and data, theta and delta are also in there, and one of those is REM sleep. All right, so it's like we enter into different realms of consciousness based on the vibration of consciousness. All right, oh, so what was she saying? Yeah, so let me see. So she goes in there, And this is where she is in hypnosis. I don't know where hypnosis is. That might be like in a super alpha state. I would have to look that up. Or theta, I think it is. Theta state. And so she's in that realm, in that level of vibration of consciousness. So she can interact with time and space differently. In that realm is where you can access the Akashic records. In sleep and in meditation, you can access the Akashic records, which is the book of life in the Bible. You can access that there. It's basically all experiences gathered in this book, and that's where we can get information from. That's where we can get inspiration and concepts and ideas out of the blue. We're pulling it from the history of our ancestors. Basically, it's like recorded in in consciousness. I know this shit probably sounds crazy, but just bear with me. All right, so the lady, she dies, and she's like, at first I think she was kind of like upset about it, but because she was dying, you know what I mean. She was upset about it because she was killed, and then she says, from up here I see clearly now what it was. She said we all had an agreement, the Jews and the Nazis, spiritually, before they incarnated. You know, the wind, we don't know where it came from before it incarnates and makes the sound. Before they incarnated, there was an agreement. That whole thing was arranged. It's a play. It's a stage play. There is no hard feelings between the two. So she says it was an arrangement. She says, now I clearly see that it was an arrangement for both parties to learn love and to overcome fear. The Nazi parties, because there were people there, she says, that knew it was wrong, but they were too afraid to stand up. This was their opportunity to overcome fear and practice love, no matter what, at what sacrifice or what cost it would cost them. Same thing with the Jews. It was their opportunity to overcome fear and love those who were persecuting them. And she says she can see it clearly now. And outside of the body, outside of this earthly play, there was love for them, unconditional love on all parties. And she says that in all actuality, she would rather be the victim, because afterlife, it's harder for the persecutor, the victimizer, because it's so unlike their nature. I'm like, wow, that is crazy. It's just crazy to think about it that way. Just crazy to see it that way. Or an aspect, another story where the girl, she in her past life, she was a sailor. She was a male sailor, and she says it's really really hard where they're at right now. And then she was thrown overboard. She was looking over the deck, and then somebody came behind her and threw her overboard. And she gets down into the water. It's really really cold, and she's looking up, and she says she sees the captain of the ship looking down at her, smiling, and she doesn't understand why he wanted to do this. But then she was like, well, he must have found out that I was stealing food, because they were all basically, they were starving. They didn't have much food, and he was stealing more than his allotted portion. So the captain got rid of him, and he felt good about getting rid of him. Now when she died, when she transitioned out of her body and into the spirit realm, she saw clearly that the captain who threw her overboard in the last in that life was the her father in this life. And the reason that the agreement was, in this life, he wanted to actually take care of her since he killed her in the last life. But it was all agreements. It was all a play. All a play. And there, not to mention, I forgot, there's actual research into this, and it's called dang it, I forgot what it's called, but it's basically just like people who have past life regression. Well, they kind of go into it too. People who have do past life regression and life between life regression, they hear the conversations of the groups. Like they can actually go and ask and figure this stuff out, like to know. I just think about how crazy this stuff sounds, but they can let that, like they can access that realm and figure out what each person in their life is there for, if they're allowed to know that knowledge, if it doesn't compromise anything. They're allowed to know what that person is there for, why they're struggling with a certain thing and all that. It's like all predestined. It's pre-done. What we fail to realize is, and I'll end on this note. What we fail to realize is we didn't just get sucked out of heaven or created into a body because our parents came together and had sex, even though they might not have meant to create us. We chose to come here beforehand. We saw our bodies. We saw many life events. We knew the people that we would meet. We knew the spouses that we would have, the siblings that we would have. Like we knew all this stuff beforehand. But Just like when you fall asleep, you forget what you are. You know, but we see all that stuff beforehand and it's encoded in our spiritual DNA, in our spiritual memory. Those things are encoded. That's why sometimes you meet somebody for the first time and you look them in the eyes and you're like, where do I know you from? It's a familiarity that doesn't exist in this realm. It comes from something different. And the beauty is you can look at every single person in the eyes and know that. You can look at every single person in the eyes and know that you knew them beforehand. To know that they are you, to know that they and you have the same parents, the same spiritual parents. It changes everything. Like I'm slowly getting back to that realization because I allowed myself, based on other people's beliefs, I took their beliefs back on because anything else was a very lonely world, because to be the only one that sees things this way, all you hear consistently are lies. Like the way people consider themselves is a lie to me. The way people consider life and death is a lie to me. And it's just it's like being in this world but not of it, and nobody can relate to you. So what I did was what I shouldn't have, but I just started to dial it down a little bit. And then next thing you know, I was right back into fear and judgment and things like that. But when I truly had embraced this for the very first time, there wasn't one person in a million that could upset me. There wasn't one person in a million that could hurt me. There wasn't one person in a million that I didn't love. And every single eye that I looked into, I knew that person. Every person that I interacted with, I knew was a divine appointment. That I had something for them and they had something for me, because this was an arranged agreement. It changed everything. Like I loved my family so much more because these are the souls that before I incarnated, we knew and loved each other. We decided to come here and to interact so that they could benefit me and I could benefit them. And it's all love. The people that I might not get along with, the people that might not like me, the people that I've wronged and have wronged me, when we leave here, and maybe beforehand, but when we leave here, it'll be all love, 100% love. And the God that we all feared will give us nothing but unconditional love. No matter what we've done here, that changed everything. Changed everything. It's like people always say God has unconditional love, but they're so afraid of pissing them off to the point where he rejects them permanently. It's like, oh, I thought it was unconditional. It's crazy. All right. But thank you guys for watching, whether you believe me or not. I appreciate you sticking with me and listening to me talk and do what I do, and bearing with me. And if you don't believe it, that's okay. If you do believe it, or if you're on the fence or whatever, just, well, for some people I would say try it out, but I know some people would be too afraid to. But if anything resonates with you, then that's what you were meant to hear. Anything else, then you just can leave that alone. But thank you, folks. I really appreciate your attention. All right, peace.